Hello, second grade teachers. We're back to give you an overview of Unit 8 for the explorations in nonfiction writing. First thing we're going to do is take a look at, we'll first get into the nonfiction pilot tab. We're going to scroll down to the calendar. Make this bigger for you guys to see. So in second grade, Unit 8 is I Can Research. That unit begins March 27th and ends April 28th. You notice down here where the student sample submission window opens. It opens at the beginning of the unit. That was when we were still collecting the pre-assessments. You no longer have to submit those. So just pay close attention to the ending date for that window in order to make sure that you have your samples in on time. We're going to click back here and look at what you need to do to submit those samples. Remember, each teacher will submit 3 writing samples, one for an above average student, one for an average student, and one for not yet at average. With each of those writing samples, you need to make sure that you include a cover page, which you'll find right here. Fill this out for each student, attach it, and then you'll want to make sure that you have that to Julie De Leon within that collection window. The next thing we're going to look at is this section here, the CD resources by unit of study. So what has been done is we've taken all of the information from the CDs within your materials, and everything has been scanned in and is included on the ARC. So it's a lot easier. You don't have to print it off yourself. You can go straight to the ARC. Now let's look at our planning guide for this unit. Remember, we're on Unit 8. So you can see the TEKs that are covered in Unit 8. You'll notice once we go into the ARC that not all of the oral and written conventions, oral and written conventions are listed here. Quite a few are covered within this unit, but when we go into the ARC, you'll notice that not all of them are covered, so make sure you pay attention to that. All of your research TEKs are covered in this unit, and most of your writing TEKs are also covered. Down here, you see the unit overview, which is really important, not only to read yourself, but really to discuss as a team. You have which sessions will be covered for your lessons, and then also the mentor text that you will use for this unit. Another great thing down here in your power rights, remember those are written across the curriculum, but this is a great opportunity to fit in that friendly letter TEKs again with the power rights. If you scroll down to the second page, this hidden gem down here, the teacher notes do say that in Unit 8, students may research on class-generated topics independently in partners or in small groups, and that although the resource guides students to create a report, which includes a table of contents and a cover page, students may use a visual display or other digital media for their research findings and presentation. So it doesn't have to be exactly how the book lays it out. You do have some choice in that. All right, now let's head over to the ARC and down to Unit 8. And you can see, let's scroll down here into our writing. So there are a few of the oral and written conventions, like I mentioned, that are not covered that you'll want to ensure are taught. And then if you continue to scroll down, all of these research TEKs are covered with this nonfiction pilot. And now we're going to take some time to look through the resources and get a closer look at what you guys will be doing in Unit 8.
Okay, so for this unit, we are going to be the Inform tab. So in the Inform tab, it starts off talking about the class and individual projects. And for the class project, you will be using the mentor text, The Sonoran Desert. And the class project is a class book about the rainforest, remembering that you can always change the topic. You don't have to follow the topic that they suggest. Also remember that in the teacher's notes from the nonfiction planning guide, that you may research the class topic individually with partners or in small groups, and that you don't have to create necessarily a class book, but you can create a visual display or use some other digital display like Google Slides or something like that as well. And so that goes as well for the individual project when they do their own report. Looking at an overview of the lessons, there are 20 lessons, 10 for a class project and 10 for the individual project. There are 24 days in the unit though on the ARC. The unit does start with a pre-assessment and it goes through setting up the RAN chart and studying the mentor text and the whole class project. And then for the individual project, it talks about adding appropriate details, adding description, and revising, editing, and organization. And also to always remember the other conventions TEKs that are not included in this resource. And don't forget that in the beginning of the unit, there are also so many pages that really help build your background knowledge and help you in setting up the things that you're going to need for this unit. So in this overview, it talks about setting up your research tools and your research stations. It also talks about all the tools that you can use for assessment. And that's something to really keep in mind so that you're responding to the needs of your students. There's also really great tips for the class project as well as the individual project and things to do after the unit. So we're just going to highlight some of the lessons that are included. One of the lessons is using multiple sources. Remember, this is set up just like your workshop time. So be thinking about that there's going to be the focus mini lesson. In the book, it does suggest 20 minutes, but we're thinking about how can you reduce that and really stay focused. It always talks about how explicit modeling is essential. And then it also goes into ensuring that kids, of course, have time to write independently, and it talks about the importance of conferring or coaching your writers, as well as including that reminder that sharing and reflecting is such an essential part of growing as a writer. This lesson here is actually in the independent project part of the unit, but it is an essential lesson and really talks about researching. How do we take what we read and put it into our own words so that we're not just copying? And so that's a lesson that, you've probably done something very similar to, but this one is really essential to making sure that kids are not just looking at a resource, copying down, and going from there. So make sure that you really spend some time on this lesson. Another lesson I wanted to highlight was the adding illustrations, and this is a really great lesson because it talks about the purpose of that and being intentional about our illustrations. And so again, using that mentor text, we'll see that our illustrations have a real purpose. And then finally, I wanted to remind you about the power rights that you can find at the end of the unit. And these are really just to support the work that you're doing in writing, but that work is then done across content areas. If you guys have any questions, contact your instructional coach on your campus and they can help you navigate further, or you can reach out to Ashley or me. And I hope you guys have fun with this unit.